everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And today, as you can see from the breaking news, and Donald Trump is all over the news today, again, as always, supposedly there is now a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Now, ceasefire for now. This war has been going on, or these exchange of missiles has been going on for about 12 days. And it looks like possibly cooler heads may have prevailed, unless this is another delay tactic by the United States and Israel. As many people speculate, if you look at social media, a lot of these UN weapons inspector guys and former CIA people and intelligence people, they believe that this could be a sort of stall tactic, because Israel has now run out of the resources to protect itself, and so the United States has to rearm them immediately. I mean, that's kind of cynical, but hey, listen, Trump has not been the most sincere man over the past 2 weeks. As you can see here from the New York Post, for informational purposes, temporary peace. You have the Ayatollah Khomeini, Netanyahu, the Emperor of America. The Prime Minister of Israel, and his little boy Donald Trump. And I'll get to that later of why I am calling Trump his little boy, because it has become so evident that the United States will do anything Israel tells them to do. We need more money. We give it to them. They need more bombs. We give it to them. They need us, the United States military, to enter a war in the Middle East to destroy a country that has no way of harming us. We do it. And when are we finally going to break free of this albatross named Israel? Now, I think this is all because of the boomers. These old people just have to get out of politics. They have to loosen control of their grip of the United States. And I think that most people, especially people of my generation, and the younger people, millennials and Gen Zs, as scary as that sounds, are starting to see that this Israeli-U.S. partnership isn't much of a partnership. It's one little state, this insignificant strip of sand, telling this military monster who to hit, when to hit, how to hit him, and how many times. So this ceasefire could be a way of Trump and the United States military re-upping Israel's defense systems. Or maybe it's not. Maybe Trump really does want peace, because as we now know, and there are plenty of sources, and the U.S. military people and Israeli government officials have come out saying that the U.S. strikes of those nuclear facilities on Saturday were an absolute failure. They destroyed nothing. As a matter of fact, on the podcast a couple of days before, I mentioned that an Israeli scientist had bragged that they had already moved all of their uranium, the 60% enriched uranium that they supposedly have. They already moved all that stuff to safer locations that the United States couldn't hit, or that Israel couldn't hit. Israel can't hit anything right now. And some people think that those strikes that happened on Saturday night, that the U.S. knew those facilities were empty. The U.S. knew that those bunker buster bombs couldn't destroy that Fordow location. There have been sites from around the media world that have shown that facility has a dent, but it hasn't been destroyed. And from what a lot of people are saying, especially Turkish news, is that that facility is still operational. I mean, it's 400 feet into a mountain, and that those bunker busters apparently go about 197 feet. Again, this is all stuff that I'm reading online. But then Iran does what I thought that they wouldn't do. We talked about this on Saturday. Would Iran be crazy enough to retaliate against the United States and their military bases? And they fucking did. Now, is this basically what you would call a bit of bro coding by Trump in Iran, right? Trump tells Iran in military language, "I'm going to bomb these empty sites. It won't do you any harm. Nobody died in those bombings, and then you can bomb you can bomb my military sites, my military bases over there. We're going to have our people in bunkers. You can blow up a few landing strips and go away." And the Iranians used very old missiles. I think they shot 6 missiles, only 3 hit. And there was very limited damage to the military bases. So it was kind of like, I hit you, you hit me type thing. I don't know. It just seems very, very weird that the U.S. hits Iran, Iran hits the U.S., and now as we sit here on Monday, the 23rd, Trump is talking about a ceasefire, and he accomplished a ceasefire. Now, of course, his knucklehead little boy, J.D. Vance, goes on Fox television and suggests that Iran still have their military, their nuclear, their uranium and their fuselages and all that other good stuff, but we don't know where they are. Which means that those bombings just confirm those bombings were a complete failure. Vance also claims or says that the Iranians and Israelis will keep shooting will quote unquote keep shooting at each other until ceasefire goes into effect. Now, Vance has had a very big day because Trump sent him out on the town to do interviews on Fox and many other places. Vance on Monday today said that he believed that Iran's enriched uranium stockpile was buried beneath 300 nuclear facilities bombed by the U.S. over the weekend, though other officials and experts fear that the theocratic regime may have stashed the nuclear fuel just before the attack. They told us they did that. I mentioned it on this podcast. How would I know? Vance says, and I quote, "Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon." This is what Vance told Fox News special report host Brett Baird tonight. So these bombings were all nonsense. They were just for show. It was what you would call a big nothing burger. So, like we say, where does this all lead us for now? Apparently, Iran still has this uranium. It's over 60% enriched. I don't know how much more processing it needs to be turned into a nuclear weapon. But if it does turn into a nuclear weapon, all bets are off. You can't fuck with them anymore. And then the U.S. and Israel have to make a decision on what they're going to do, because if Iran has a bomb of that magnitude, they can wipe out that whole region easily. You have to remember, these people are not like us. They don't think like us. They don't care if their children die or their young people die, because their whole thing is they're going to go to heaven and get 72 virgins and live in paradise with Allah and Muhammad. That's their way of thinking. Their value of life isn't as high as ours. And you have to look at the way the Israelis are operating in that region. They have just unmercifully murdered men, women, and children and old people at alarming rates, and they call it, defense. We have a right to defend ourselves against who? Burning children alive in Gaza, hitting hospitals and bulldozing apartment buildings, and the U.S. sits by and allows this. And it has to be said, is the U.S. a puppet for Israel? And did Iran expose it? Because these strikes that happened on Saturday weren't a Donald Trump call. Many people believe this was a Netanyahu call. And Trump just picked the locations because it sounded sexy. He knew that there was nobody there, and he said, "Hey, listen, I tried, Bibi. We couldn't knock him out." And then the Iranians bombed U.S. military bases with, pretty much soft little jabs, just to show, hey, if you hit me, we'll hit you back. But as many people have stated, oh, my light just went out here. Many people believe is, oh, geez. All right, my light just went out here. Very nice. All right, we'll have to do that for now. What many people believe is that the Russians had given the green light to the Iranians to bomb those military bases. And if that's the truth, if Russia has the temerity to do that, then the United States is really, we're looking at Armageddon right now. Russia and China are hell-bent on not allowing Iran to be swallowed up by the Americans and Israelis. They're hell-bent on it. And they don't care if the United States is a puppet of Israel and does whatever Israel wants. They don't like the Israelis. The Chinese don't like the Israelis. And I'll tell you, most of the known world, most of the Western world, don't like the Israelis. For some reason, these Christians, these evangelical Christians, love these people. Don't ask me why, but they do. And they love to see their sons and daughters get blown up in wars started by these people. So we are now in day 12. We have a ceasefire. We don't know where this ceasefire will lead to. This could be another stall tactic by Trump. Who knows? But he did go on that Truth Social, and he announced this ceasefire today. Let's see if we can get some quotes from the Orange Messiah here. Trump announced on Monday evening on the Truth Social, as we said, that the 12-day war, there's a ceasefire for that. In big, bold letters, here it is. In big, bold letters, he writes, and I quote, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total," in bold letters again, "ceasefire. And approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran would have drawn down and completed their, would have wound down and completed in their progress final missions." So they're still shooting at each other. They still have to carry out those missions, of course, for 12 hours. Okay. At which point the war will be considered ended, Trump wrote. Trump also went on to say, and I quote, officially, Iran has started the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful. Well, here's the thing. Now, what happens if Israel breaks that? They can't trust these people. They've lied about the 2 week thing, and Trump's comments in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago, actually, seems like months ago. Trump also went on to say on Truth Social, on the assumption that everyone works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. Wow. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the world. That's from Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. And it seems like everything is hunky-dory in the world. Now, of course, the Israelis have not made any immediate confirmation that they will stop the fighting. And as I said, J.D. Vance has been making the rounds. And he is, basically Trump's, lapdog. And the president said Tehran provided a heads up in advance of its response, and most of the rockets were shot down and of reaching the targets. As we said, I think that whole thing was a bro code thing. You hit me, I hit you, just to show that we're not pussies and we're not afraid of you. And Trump was like, all right, thanks. Now, of course, American media is going to say that Iran came to their senses. They knew they couldn't win this thing, blah, 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 blah. If you look at any pictures, and if you go to world sites, world media sites, German media sites, French media sites, Italian, Turkish, whatever you want, they are there somehow showing the destruction that is Tel Aviv right now. It looks like it has been blown back to the days of Noah. And Israel is very guarded in the way that they allow media to cover them. So a lot of these pictures have to be leaked. But they have gotten the snot kicked out of them. And of course, the American media, the Anglo-American media, will never allow that to be known, right? Israel has control of the Iranian skies, which we all know is nonsense. They don't have control over anything. Okay, so what's the big picture here? Where do we go from here? So Trump announces a ceasefire agreement. The Israelis haven't confirmed it yet, which is no surprise, which gives them an out to hit the Iranians again if they want. But what does this mean? Why does this matter? Well, the ceasefire ends a 12-day war, as we said. Did it lead to the destruction of Iran's nuclear program? No. No, it didn't. Now, Trump has said that he and Iran, the United States and Iran, will begin the ceasefire talks for 12 hours, and then Israel will begin. I read this already. Trump said during the 12-hour ceasefire that they will remain peaceful and respectful. I read that already. Now, as we talk right now, on Monday, Iran launched multiple missiles against U.S. military bases in Qatar again in retaliation. There were no casualties. 3 hours of the attack issued a statement thanking Iran for giving early notice for what he called a very weak missile attack. Well, of course he's going to say that. Now, who organized this sit down, right? Like, you ever watch The Sopranos or any mob movie? There's always a sit down. We talked about that. Well, the ceasefire supposedly was agreed upon through Qatari and American mediators that represented Israel and Iran, according to sources familiar with the matter. After the attack on Saturday, Iran sent a message to the White House through Qatar that it will not conduct any further attacks. How much of that is true, I don't know. The White House sent a message back via the Qataris, stressing that it will not retaliate to the Iranian attack on the U.S. base, and that the U.S. is ready to resume negotiations with Iran. Afterwards, talks continued between the U.S. and Israel and between Qatar and Iran to agree on terms for the ceasefire and the time it would begin. During this mediation efforts, Trump and Netanyahu were on the phone constantly, and they were on the phone with the Emir of Qatar. Vance supposedly spoke to Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman about convincing Iran to stop bombing the Israelis. Now, again, what does this mean? Where does this go? Nobody knows. Round and round we go, and where we end up, no one knows. But the Russians had a say in this. I believe the Chinese had a say in this. And the United States stopped all this stuff because I think they saw that things were beginning to spiral out of control, especially when you have a Russian foreign minister who's going around saying that World War III is just around the corner. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Monday warned that World War III is just around the corner following America's bombing of Iran and the retaliation. He called the attacks irresponsible and said they were in a violation of international law. I don't know what this international, how much validity does this international law have? I mean, wouldn't the world have just arrested every Israeli, after what they did to these people in Gaza? Quote, this will not be peace and order, but a complete chaos. And as Vladimir Putin said today, the Third World War may be very close. That's and I end of quote by Lavrov. He also went on to say that their intention to use Ukraine against Russia is no longer hidden. Russia is demonized. Even the world demonized. Does not quite reflect the aggression, some kind of beastly one in rhetoric and actions, especially when women's part is highlighted in the European Commission. I don't know what that means. His comments came as the missile exchange between Iran and Iraq continued. Iran and Israel continued, and the global leaders scrambled to prevent further escalation. Russia's a big part of this, and I told you why. China's a big part of this, and we know why. Iran is a buffer into Eastern Asia, and they do not want the Americans and especially the Israelis to break that buffer. Iran will go nowhere. So we will keep monitoring this situation here. It just keeps getting wackier and wackier. But the bombings on Saturday by the U.S. were a big nothing burger. The retaliation by Iran, they warned the United States that this would happen. It was just, pop, pop, pop. And now there's a ceasefire. And I don't know if Israel is happy about this. They shouldn't be. They were just embarrassed. But could this be something more sinister? Is the United States biding time, Israel biding time to restock Israel's missile defense forces? We don't know. We'll only find out sooner rather than later. But that's all for now. As we come back, and hopefully we can start doing something else. I was planning on maybe on Thursdays or Fridays doing like a movie reviews or movies or music that I've gotten into over the years, and just talked about that. But the world's in such crisis today that you almost have to you just look at the stuff online and it's all nuts. But anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there, my friends, because Satan is busy. He's running amok right now. Be a man, have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. Sorry about the lights. We'll see you later.